Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Gwei Refuel, where I recap the latest news in the Ethereum ecosystem. I'm your host, Anthony Sassano, and today's the 12th of August, 2021. Alright everyone, let's get right into it. So, a bit of drama on crypto Twitter over the last 24 hours. Two bits of drama actually. One involving Jack, the co-founder and CEO of Twitter, and the other involving Optimism, Sushi Swap, UniSwap, you name it. There's a lot of drama going on right now. But I wanted to start with kind of like this tweet that Jack put out. So, he originally put out a tweet saying that he used this tool to create and sync a list of accounts on Twitter or whatever. But in his screenshot of that's attached to his tweet here, he's got a tweet from Grubbles, who is someone who works at Blockstream and is notorious for trolling, not just trolling Ethereum, but spreading misinformation about Ethereum. For many years now. I mean, I have actually looked up his Twitter profile stats before, and he talks about Ethereum more than he talks about Bitcoin, which is just hilarious. But anyway, in the screenshot, Grubbles has a tweet where he says the Ethereum Foundation is bankrolled by their pre-mime, them paying a researcher who's going on podcasts proclaiming Ethereum is Bitcoin is exactly why we consider it a scam. And he's been calling, obviously Ethereum a scam for quite a while now. And Jack having this tweet in his screenshot is not a coincidence. As soon as I saw this, I was like, yeah, this is in no way a coincidence. Like, he's doing this on purpose because it's no secret that Jack does not like Ethereum. Now, you can see here in my screenshot, I screenshot Udi basically saying LMAO the tweet in the screenshot, like pointing out the fact that this tweet's there. Then someone else says, total coincidence, I'm sure, LMAO. And then Jack goes on to say, there are no coincidences. So, I mean, he's being pretty brazen about the fact that he thinks Ethereum is a scam and he doesn't like it, which, I mean, I could go on for a while, but I won't, about why I think he's so misguided here and why I'm just incredibly disappointed in this, incredibly sad to see this. But at the same time, Jack represents everything that we're trying to disrupt within Ethereum. He's not only the founder of a centralized social media website that obviously we all know and love and all use, that being Twitter, but he's also the founder or co-founder of Square, which is a payments app, like a centralized payments rail, like fintech, whatever you want to call it. And Ethereum is working to disrupt that too. So from that point of view, it makes sense that he doesn't like Ethereum because Ethereum is disrupting his business model, or he's poised to disrupt his businesses. Because if we do kind of like crack the Web3 decentralized social media nut and have something like a Twitter competitor out of that basically gets usage and actually scales, well, that's a threat to Twitter. And then DeFi is definitely a threat to something like Square, a big threat, whereas Bitcoin isn't a threat. Like, Jack is obviously a very big fan of Bitcoin. He's been promoting the Lightning Network and things like that. But those things I wouldn't consider like a threat to Square, to be honest. I would consider them more complementary, so that's probably why he's focused on it. But yeah, I mean, he's just being so brazen about it now. He's not shy to say that he thinks Ethereum is a scam, in so many words. I mean, he's not saying it directly, but he is implying it from these screenshots. And it's just incredibly sad to see. And in my follow-up tweet here, I said, the amount of bullshit Ethereum has had to contend with over the years is absolutely staggering. And any of you who have been around for a few years will know what I mean. People with massive followings calling it a scam or implying that it is a scam is just a cherry on top of all the other stuff that we've had to deal with. And yet, Ethereum is still here. It's still thriving, and it's still going to flip Bitcoin. Like, I have no doubt in my mind about that. But yeah, I mean, just as someone who's so deeply involved in this ecosystem, it is so sad to see this. It is so disappointing to see this. And at the end of the day, if Jack wants to play this game, then I'm going to hit back. Like, I'm going to keep working towards making sure Ethereum, puts Bitcoiners in their place. Because I think at this point, the flipping, I not only want it to happen because I believe Ethereum should be on top, I also want it to happen because I believe it'll finally put Bitcoiners in their place and get them to kind of they'll lose the narrative, essentially. They'll lose the narrative that they're the biggest thing ever, that nothing can ever flip it, whatever, and they'll lose a lot of their kind of narrative power. And, another reason why I really don't like the fact that Jack is so against Ethereum is because he could be doing any number of things to limit the reach of Ethereum on Twitter, right? Like, for example, these could be subtle things where he essentially, when you follow a new account on Twitter, instead of him suggesting Ethereum people, he suggests Bitcoin maximalists, right? And he's not doing this directly. It's obviously Twitter. And, being I'm pretty sure he's the majority owner of Twitter still, he would have direct power over what happens there. And I'm sure there's other Bitcoin maximalists working at Twitter. So I don't think it's a conspiracy to kind of have these thoughts, and that is just like even more dangerous. And at times I feel like I can't even talk against Jack because my account will just get banned or something like that. And that really is just coming back to what the perils of centralization are, is the fact that I'm scared to post things because you've got this guy who's openly hostile to Ethereum, and I am like obviously someone who's big in the Ethereum community, and I don't want to get my account banned. You'll see I didn't tag Jack in this or anything like that. I didn't want to get his attention, but I still wanted to call this crap out. I once actually got a reply from Jack a while ago when I called out something on Twitter. It was a long time ago now. I think it was 2019. And since then, I just haven't tagged him in anything. I just don't want to draw the attention of him because, he could shadow ban my account. There's nothing I could do about it. Like, I could put in a support request to Twitter or whatever, but they could easily ignore that. Like, I could be put on some blacklist or whatever. I mean, this isn't just a threat against me. This has happened to other people on Twitter before. And this is just like the perils of centralization. So I'm really hoping that Aave comes through with their decentralized Twitter that they're trying to build, and it actually kind of gets a network effect. But it's very hard. I mean, getting people to change from like Twitter to something else would be, I think, a very hard thing to do. You could maybe bootstrap it with some kind of monetary incentives or whatever. But still, it'll take a while to get there. I mean, I'd be one of the first people on there for sure. Like, I would love to even be there during like the alpha stages of it and trying it out and building an audience on there and making sure that, I feel safe, I guess, like on there. But and I could call out whoever I wanted for spreading crap and not have fear of repercussions. But yeah, I guess like that's kind of like how I'm viewing those things. But yeah, generally not very fun that Jack is kind of doing this so openly now. And I do think he just really hasn't sat down with anyone in the Ethereum community and talked to them about Ethereum. I think he sat down with Bitcoin maximalists. They've given him their version of Ethereum, and he's just eaten it up, which just puzzles me. But at the same time, I guess if you look at his incentives, obviously Ethereum is disrupting, or it can disrupt both of his companies. So we'll have to see how that plays out. But I think I want to move on to the next stuff here. But I guess like generally just like sad to see this, not unexpected. Sad to see. But there was drama around, actually I'm going to move this tweet over here. There was drama around like Optimism, Sushi Swap, UniSwap yesterday. You might have seen it. I quote tweeted Joseph's tweet here, and then I woke up to a flurry of messages and I was like, oh God, I shouldn't have tweeted at 1 a.m. But anyway, what Joseph said here is, and he attaches a screenshot, his tweet, Joseph Delong, he works at Sushi. He said, why Sushi isn't coming to Optimism, or at bare minimum is taking a wait and see approach that prefers credibly neutral platforms like Arbitrum. And then he puts together a thread. But in the screenshot, he has a message that he sent in, I assume, the Optimism Discord, where he says, no offense, but we aren't super eager to deploy yet. We were really disappointed in the non-preferential treatment we got. Feel free to whitelist us, but I think we might wait and see what happens. So what Joseph was implying here, that there was a bit of favoritism going on, where Sushi Swap was kind of like not being prioritized for deployment, and it wasn't a first come first serve basis with apps on Optimism, and that Optimism was like favoring UniSwap and other platforms or whatever. Now, the funny thing is that if you're newer to this ecosystem, you won't be aware of the relationship the Optimism team and the UniSwap team has. And this relationship goes back very far. It goes back to, I would say, like the people involved in both teams, they have been working together and friends since like the earliest days of Ethereum. That's how far it goes back in Uniswap and Optimism. And then, Optimism have been working with Uniswap for a while. They did the Unipig demo exchange back in 2019. So that was a while ago now. And obviously Uniswap v3 is now live on Optimism. They were one of the first apps to kind of like want to get on there. Now, I guess what Joseph was implying is that because of that connection, they're getting preferential treatment. And, I'm not going to say that I know if they are or aren't. It feels like a bit of a he said, she said after going through all the different kind of like replies and everything here. But yeah, Joseph goes on to say, like, after deploying on Optimism's Kovan testnet and preparing Sushi for deployments, they were ready to deploy and were waiting for the first opportunity, so we scheduled a call with Optimism. But after a long discussion with lots of dancing around, we finally asked point blank, are we going to be treated equally on deployment? That is when they told us that Uniswap had to go first, meaning we were boxed out of a deployment until Uniswap. Now, the Optimism team kind of like hit back on this and said that it was a first come first serve basis. And I think this is where maybe the wording got mixed up or maybe the communications were like poor, or where kind of like crypto Twitter got their pitchforks out. Because you can see here, that is when the team told us point blank that Uniswap had to go first. Now, the screenshot that he's kind of like referencing here is not like what, you know, the message that he was sent. But if UniSwap came first, which they did, I mean, I'm pretty sure UniSwap was, I mean, Synthetics was really early, but I'm pretty sure UniSwap was the first ever team to basically say to Optimism, hey, we want to deploy UniSwap here when it's ready. So if Optimism was doing like a first come first serve basis for whitelisting, then Uniswap definitely was first. Like, I don't think there's any doubt about that. But if they did say that Uniswap had to go first because of preferential treatment, well, that's another thing. But I mean, it's kind of hard to tell what the truth is here, right? But then, essentially, I mean, there's a bit more in the thread here, and I'll link this thread. You can go through all the comments. There's so many comments here, but I'm trying to summarize it as best I can. I put out maybe an ill-thought-out tweet, and you can see here, I mean, it was 12:16 a.m. when I put this out, where I quote-tweeted Joseph's tweet, and I said, disappointed to see this. I'm only long-term bullish on credibly neutral and permissionless platforms, whether that be on layer 1 or layer 2. There's no place in this ecosystem for walled gardens. I hope the Optimism team rectifies this. Now, my mistake was just taking Joseph at his word. Now, I'm not saying Joseph was lying or anything like that, but I shouldn't just like take one person's side of the story and then form an opinion on that. That was my bad, and I'll freely admit to that. And I put out a thread, which I'll go over in a sec, basically expanding on my thoughts here. But this is still true, what I said here. I'm only long-term bullish on credibly neutral and permissionless platforms. Because generally, I think that if you create walled gardens, you lose all of the magic of this ecosystem. You lose, obviously, the permissionlessness, you lose the open nature, you lose the community support, and everything kind of like that. So that statement that I made there is definitely still true. And what I meant by I hope the Optimism team rectifies this is that I was hoping that they would have an open whitelist process like what Arbitrum had, because I think that is the best and fairest way to do it. And you can do a first come, first serve basis like that. There's no reason you can't, as long as you explicitly state, okay, hey, we have like an open whitelist, it's first come, first serve, and that's it. As simple as that. And I think that's what Arbitrum did, and it seems to have succeeded. I'm going to talk about them in a little bit, but essentially, this was ill-advised here. And you know, I'll go through my follow-up tweet, but I got like a bunch of comments from people I really respect in the industry. Obviously, Kane here, Hayden, you know, Joseph replied saying it means the backup means a lot, and you know, I'm friends with Joseph. Like he's a great guy. I have nothing against him or anything like that. But you know, you got to look at the incentives at play here. Of course, like Joseph's part of Sushi Swap, Hayden's part of Uniswap. Optimism is close to Uniswap. Uniswap and Sushi Swap don't get along because Sushi was originally a fork of Uniswap. And there's all kinds of like banter and politics going on here. So there's so much like background stuff you have to know about this to really dig in and see what's happening here. And that's another reason why my tweet here was ill-advised, is because I know all of this background stuff and I shouldn't have said anything. But, you know, just to clear it up there. But then I basically put together kind of my tweet thread here, which is a follow-up today after I woke up to a flurry of messages, honestly. And it was a flurry of notifications, and kind of like I felt really bad. So I basically said, you know, I replied to Jing first, who is pretty much one of the founders or co-founders of Optimism, saying that I've been a massive fan of the work that their team has been doing as part of Plasma Group and Optimism. I have covered it all. Obviously, I talk about it all the time on the Refuel and everything like that. And I even remembered where I was when I first tried out the Unipig exchange demo. I was literally, like, I remember exactly in my head. I can picture it. I was on like the side of the street waiting for a cab in Osaka, in Japan, because it was DevCon, and I had it up on my phone. I was like, oh my god, this is so awesome. Like, this feels like a turning point for Ethereum layer 2. And it was the first like real roll-up thing that end users could actually, you know, play around with. So I was like super excited about it. And then, you know, I basically apologized to Kane as well, who's been building with Synthetics on Optimism for quite a while. And I wasn't trying to concern troll, as he said in his reply to me. I was legitimately concerned because I don't want to see Optimism fail. I want to see them succeed as much as I want to see all the other layer 2 succeed. I know how much work they've put into it. I know how much pioneering kind of stuff that they've done, and the technology is real and it works. So I don't want to see them fail. And then, I mean, Hayden basically, he didn't annoy me or anything like that. He kind of made me sad because he basically said, you know, crypto Twitter, not sure crypto Twitter influencers realize how harmful it is to the builders in this space to put out tweets like this. And the thing is that I do realize it. That's why this tweet was ill-advised. But, you know, I said that it saddened me, and then I went on to apologize. And me and Hayden, being the awesome guy that he is, basically, I guess, like, apologized here, and Kane basically, you know, thanked me for my work and stuff like that, which I thought was really cool. But anyway, and then Calvin Fichtner, who works at Optimism, asking how to rectify the situation. And all I said was that having an open whitelist process like Arbitrum would be, I guess, the best way, because it's credibly neutral and fair as possible during kind of like a whitelist phase. So yeah, that's I guess like the TLDR of the drama that's gone on. And then Optimism also put out like a tweet thread on their end saying they are whitelisting projects as quickly as possible and still maintain the safety of an alpha system. UniSwap deployed ahead of SushiSwap because they engaged with us 1.5 years ago. See, as I explained, UniSwap was the very first team to engage with Optimism long before SushiSwap. First in, first out is not playing favorites. And I agree with this. But again, he said, she said, but at the same time, like the evidence is there. Like you can see that UniSwap first deployed, the UniPig demo back in 2019 and all that sort of stuff. So I think you can basically get past the he said, she said for this and essentially say, okay, well, that's true. Like Uniswap was first in, so they got to be first out here. And then, there was a bit more drama in the comments with SushiSwap. And I mean, honestly, as I said, you have to understand that the background here is that the SushiSwap and Uniswap communities seem to not really get along, and for obvious reasons and things like that. But also, there's this kind of like thing that bleeds into all of these kind of like events or kind of the drama that surrounds this sort of stuff, and that's got to do with VCs. So I saw like a bunch of comments around people saying, well, it's only natural that Uniswap will be given preferential treatment on Optimism because they share the same VCs, them being Paradigm and A16Z. Paradigm is one of, if not the biggest crypto VC, and A16Z is one of, if not the biggest VCs in the world, right? But when you really think about it, I don't think that's the cause here. I really don't, because of the fact that the Uniswap and Optimism teams have been working together for so long. I think the cause was really that there's a lot of drama in these. There's a lot of drama. There's a lot of bad blood between these two communities because of the original fork that happened and stuff like that, like Sushi forked Uni and all that sort of stuff. And really, they obviously wanted to deploy an Optimism and get on there, but they thought that people were playing favorites. So yeah, I mean, amidst all the drama, I don't think there was like a definitive answer on who's right and who's wrong. But I can say, and I'm very, very confident to say this, I'm pretty much 100% confident to say this, that Uniswap was the first project to ever approach Optimism. Like, all the evidence is there. There is no, you can't change what happened in the past, right? And you see all the evidence from the past. And I can say with 100% certainty that Uniswap, deserved to go first on Optimism because they were first in. But if there are other projects that come later than SushiSwap, and then SushiSwap has to basically, go to the back of the line because these other projects are being prioritized, well, that's a different situation. And again, it becomes like a bit dramatic then. We I don't know if we'll ever get like a strong kind of like answer, or kind of like the truth, quote unquote. Like, it's too hard to follow along. And at the end of the day, the truth is what's deployed. If Optimism really is a closed platform, which I don't think it is, but if they choose to go down that road, I don't think they're going to go down that road. I truly believe that they'll lose out to their competition, but I don't think the Optimism team is like that. From everything that I've seen from that team, they adore Ethereum. Seriously, like they're all. I don't think they would consider themselves ETH-Maxis, but I consider them to be like hardcore Ethereans, been in this space for quite a while, working on these problems for quite a while, and I really don't think that they would throw all that away just to keep the Optimism closed and just to get Uniswap on there first. So yeah, I guess I probably stop it there because I'm rambling a little bit, but yeah, generally it's just something that I've thought about a lot today. And from everything that I saw, I just don't think there was any kind of like fishy business going on. I do think that people, have these conspiracies about Optimism being closed off because of A16Z and Paradigm being investors and like being sharing investors with Uniswap and it just being VC dominated and all this sort of stuff. And people look at SushiSwap as like a community-led project and all these sorts of stuff. But again, there's some truth to that. But there's lots of nuance there. I'm not going to get into the nuance now, but essentially, that should TLDR the drama for you. Regardless, I think Optimism is going public with their whitelist very soon, so anyone will be able to kind of like, open whitelist, and anyone will be able to kind of apply and then get deployed on Optimism. And I think the pressure's mounting on them, especially because they have competition, right? And that competition comes in the form of Arbitrum, who, funny enough, today announced this portal.arbitrum.one website, which lets you scroll through all of the apps that are going to be live on Arbitrum on day one when they go public this month with their public a mainnet. So you can see lots of familiar names here, right? Are there? You got Cream Finance, you got Biconomy, Kinex, Coinbase Wallet, Chainlink, Curve. I'm not going to go through all of them, but you can see on my screen, like all familiar names, a few newer names that I haven't seen before. FutureSwap there, Gnosis Safe, HandleFi. Look at all of them. Make a DAO, obviously MetaMask and things like that. But basically the who's who is going to be live here are SushiSwap, of course, and UniSwap. So I think that this competition is really healthy for the ecosystem, because this is going to force Optimism to move faster as well. Even though I think that they were going to deploy sooner rather than later anyway, it's just fun to see that both of these solutions, Optimism and Arbitrum, are probably going to go live in a public fashion around the same time, and it's just really going to be a matter of where the developers spend the most time. Like, can they develop on Optimism easier than they can on Arbitrum, or can they develop on Arbitrum easier than Optimism? Because at the end of the day, users follow the devs, because the devs are the ones maintaining and deploying applications that the users want to kind of interact with. So it's all up to like the developers. It's kind of like how easy the developers have it on each of these systems. I think Optimism has done like a very, very good job of bringing all their developer documentation and all the infrastructure stuff up to speed over the last few months. Arbitrum is definitely up there as well. So it's going to be really, really cool to see that sort of stuff kind of play out here. But yeah, I think any day now Optimism is going to go live with that public whitelist, and then they'll kind of like whitelist projects, and then they might launch a few weeks after Arbitrum or something like that, but it won't be too long of a public launch, I believe. But yeah, really, really cool to see that. And yeah, I think that's it for that drama. Hopefully that explains it all for you. Of course, I'll link these threads in the YouTube description. You can go check it out, read through the comments, see what everyone else is saying, see the back and forth. But really, at the end of the day, it's hard to kind of get to the truth, because we don't have all the context. We just have like what's on Twitter and all that sort of stuff. But I'm rooting for Optimism, like I still am, and I've loved seeing their growth and everything lately, and I truly believe that their hearts are in the right place, and they're not trying to play favorites, especially not based on VCs. I really don't think that, especially because if you really think about it, I think Uniswap and Optimism are just like one small part of AO16Z's total portfolio. They invest in a lot of different things. And I really don't think that would be putting pressure on the teams to kind of like play favorites like that. I think, yeah, I just don't see it, right? Maybe I'm wrong, but I just don't see it. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that for now. Move on to some other news from the day here. So Frank Chaparro from The Block. I love Frank. He always DMs me with this stuff. He's like, hey man, I got another ETH story out. And he knows I love it. Like this one, he says, institutional demand for ETH has surged, and it's pushing Fidelity and NYDIG to expand their NYDIG, I don't know how to say that, to expand their BTC-focused offerings. NYDIG, which builds itself as BTC First, has quietly been offering ETH custody to an increasing number of clients, plus FDAS could offer ETH services, which is Fidelity Digital Asset Services, could offer ETH services by Q1 2022. Now, I put a tweet here where I basically said, doesn't pay to be a BTC-Maxi shop, I guess. And it doesn't, because any of these kind of like institutions that basically are BTC first or BTC friendly or run by BTC maximalists, it's not the way to go, because they're going to lose market share to other platforms that don't take that approach of BTC only. They definitely, obviously the demand for ETH is really high, especially in a post-1559 world, leading up to the merge, all the NFT layer 2 stuff going on. ETH is in such demand right now, seriously. Like I have not seen this much demand for ETH ever. Like even if you just look at the price, ETH was $1,700, 20 days ago or something like that? And we went up to almost, 3,200? I think we hit 3,200 or something, almost 3,300 in a matter of like 20 days, which is an enormous kind of like move for ETH at this market cap. So ETH is in incredible demand right now. And all these institutions need to take advantage of that, which I think, it's just really cool to see that they're going to be supporting these sorts of things, and they're going to be offering these to their kind of clients as well. So yeah, I think thanks Frank for passing this on to me. You can read the full story here. I think this is maybe behind a paywall, unfortunately, the full story. But if you're subscribed to the Block's kind of like research desk, you'll be able to read it. If you yeah. Oh, this is the Block News Plus. It's not part of their research desk. So yeah, you'll be able to read it if you're subscribed to that. So antiprosynthesis put out a tweet saying the ETH2 deposit contract has casually overtaken WETH or wrapped ETH's #1 spot in the Ethereum top accounts by ETH balance ranking. Just supply shock things. So, I mean, this was expected, right? I think the ETH staking is, 6.8 million, and then the WETH contract has 6.6 million in it. This is funny because, like, the Launchpad site actually says the deposit contract has 6.8 million in it, but the deposit contract only has 6.6 on Etherscan. There must be a bit of a discrepancy there. But anyway, 6.66 million, 6.63 million in wrapped ETH, and I think wrapped ETH has actually been going down. If you look at this tweet thread, it's this tweet here, you can see that it's been going down a bit, while obviously the deposit contract is going up. So people taking ETH from DeFi and putting it into ETH2 staking, I actually think they are. That's what I did. I took a lot of my ETH that I was using to borrow stablecoins against the yield farm, and I just put it in staking because I'm like, I want to stack ETH. All these stablecoins that I'm farming, most of them are going into ETH anyway, and I have to pay tax on it. So why not just like cut out that tax portion of it and go straight to the ETH denominated stuff and do it in an environment where I'm not at risk of getting liquidated or whatever because I'm staking. So, I mean, there's lots of people like me that have done that. And then, you can check the other top balances here of ETH. Obviously, a lot of centralized exchanges, but they've been losing their dominance to things like DeFi. And wrapped ETH is pretty much like mostly DeFi. Pretty much, I would say almost all of it is DeFi. There's a few bridges in here. There's 674,000 ETH in the Polygon bridge, obviously to get to the Polygon POS chain. Scrolling down, you can see ETHDEB, which is the Ethereum Foundation's account, and Vitalik's address here, both between 300 and 400,000. And then, a bunch of unknown addresses and more centralized exchanges there. But really, it's really, really amazing to see the fact that DeFi and I guess staking are like the top two by quite a large margin as well. I mean, Binance only has 2.3 million in this cold storage account. They probably have other ones as well. Yeah, Binance 8, but they're smaller. This is like their biggest one. So, but yeah, as I said, centralized exchanges have been losing their dominance there. But anyway, just thought I'd point that out on the refuel. So mStable has introduced their GrantsDAO today. So I guess this is just another, project that's developing grants programs. So I've gone over Uni grants, Aave grants, Compound grants, every kind of DeFi app seems to have a grants program now. But essentially mStable is launching theirs now, which is really cool. So this is a community-led grants program to fund ideas submitted by the mStable's protocol community with a focus on building a wider community of developers, creators, and innovators. The mStable GrantsDAO will receive 100,000 MTA every quarter for funding grants, which at current prices, I think MTA, if I just check my chart, is about it's over $1. But let's just say it's $1, so they get $100,000 worth of MTA every quarter to kind of fund these things, and the allocation will come from the treasury and stuff like that. So yeah, just really cool to see another DeFi project get involved in kind of the grant space here, and I'm really liking the fact that just we have more and more money going and around the ecosystem right now, right, and being played around with and going to people to build more stuff especially within DeFi. So really, really cool to see that. So Zapper put out their latest product update today, and there was a little bit of drama around this that I saw on the tweet, but in this update, I think the thing I wanted to focus on was the fees here. So a lot of you will be using Zapper. So essentially, Zapper is adding fees to their Zaps portion of their app. Now, there's no fees for using the dashboard or anything like that, but for zapping in and out of different opportunities, there are now going to be fees, and those fees are going to be a flat 0.4% fee. Now, the reason why there was a drama about this is because whenever you've been getting something for free and then someone adds a fee to it, or at least the product that you're using adds a fee to it, some people complain about that. And I get that, but at the same time, these products can't remain free forever. The only reason why they remain free for initially is because they have outside funding. It's bankrolled by VCs and things like that. So whenever you actually think to yourself, "Oh, damn, VCs, I hate those guys." Well, a lot of the free apps that you use in life are funded by VCs and bankrolled by them. If you look at something like Uber, the only reason why they were able to run at a loss for so long is because they had VC money. And that the cheap rides that you enjoyed were because of that. But anyway, I guess like another issue I think people were maybe kind of like concerned with was the fact that these fees are on top of the protocol fees. So say you're zapping into a Uniswap liquidity provider position, or you're doing like a Uniswap trade through Zapper. Well, you're paying 0.4% and then 0.3% for the Uniswap kind of trade. But again, I don't think this is like, not again, but like personally, I don't think this is like a huge issue. And I should disclose here that I'm an investor in Zapper, but I'm not saying this because I'm an investor, because I actually see the logic that they've done here. I didn't talk to them about this before they put it live. But essentially, I see their logic here. If you look at MetaMask, they take a 0.8% fee for all of their swaps. Now, they're printing cash doing this, by the way, and no one seems to really care that's using it. And I think that their product is geared towards not us DeFi power users, but the more kind of like normie or noob friendly users who want just like a really simple interface to do this through. They don't want to have to kind of go through all the complicated stuff or whatever like that. They just want something dead simple. And I think that's what Zapper gives a lot of people. They're just dead simple interface to crack their portfolio, interact with DeFi, all that sorts of stuff. But, using the Uniswap example as a flat example here, 0.4% plus 0.3% is 0.7%. So they seem to have gone like the similar route that MetaMask has gone, just coming in a little bit lower, like 0.1% lower here. But I kind of like get the logic for sure. And I think that, I think that they're right to take fees, because at the end of the day, the VC money isn't going to last forever. They need to monetize in order to kind of like keep the app afloat, keep it live, keep servicing customers. And really, when a product that you've been using for free monetizes, it's actually really long-term healthy for the product. So that's how I kind of view it. I get other people's frustrations with it, but I guess like this is what the team has decided on, and I think you'll be kind of like it's going to be very hard to find any apps long term that let you do things for free, and any apps paying you liquidity mining for free. Liquidity mining incentives forever either. At the end of the day, the money has to come from somewhere, and the easiest way to kind of generate that revenue is just like pushing it on to the users actually getting value out of the app. Because if you're getting lots of value out of it, then you might not mind paying a 0.4% kind of like fee on a swap, for example. I mean, obviously maybe it's 0.7% because of the extra fee there, but really, I mean, when you think about it, 0.7% in the grand scheme of things, not too much, right? Because if you're buying into something, you're expecting it to go up or whatever, and it could go up like double, and then it just completely wipes out the hit that you took from the fee. So yeah, that's just my like humble opinion on the Zapper fees here. So Token Terminal, I love this dashboard that they keep putting out, where they split out the ETH burned versus like the ETH paid to miners, and you can see here that the ETH burn is 75-80% still of the miner revenue. So it's great to see that this is actually steady. So it's not like coming down or going up. It's actually pretty steady, and 70-75% was basically the assumptions, or I guess like the not the assumptions, but the simulations that were ran by people like Justin Drake, and kind of like he was pretty dead on with this, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of show that chart there. I just love this chart, but I know I'm going over time here, so I'm going to speed through the rest of these things I wanted to talk about. Mariano Conti put out a great tweet today where he said, it was a bit of like a tongue-in-cheek tweet, but I liked it. He said, "I am a illiquid JPEG enthusiast looking for a tiny bit more innovation at the smart contract level, please." I'm the same. Like, I love NFTs, but there are so many uninspired clones going on right now that just bring nothing to the table. And I spoke about this, I think, on one of the previous refuels, where I said it feels like ICO mania. It feels like food fork mania, where everyone's just trying for the cash grab and there's no innovation going on, and it really just feels uninspired. So I'm with Mariano here. Please, NFT creators, do something innovative, do something different. If you do, ping me about it on Twitter or Discord or whatever, and I'm happy to look at it. Because I'm sick of seeing these profile picture clone NFT projects. Like, it's just not innovative at all. It's just not something that I consider to be interesting. And it really does feel like a money grab at this point, and opportunistic at that as well. So, tiny rant, I would love to see more innovation there. If you are working on something, or if you know a project that you want me to kind of look at, definitely ping me about it. I'm always interested in learning about those sorts of things. And speaking of kind of like NFTs, I put out this tweet today where I said, I'm an absolute sucker for Ethereum art. This one comes from redline.news, or Redline News, an awesome resource for keeping up with the NFT space, which they are. I mean, I discovered this the other day. Someone messaged me and basically said, "Hey, man, like, can you should check out this piece that we wrote." And they wrote a really great piece on 1559. But essentially, I mean, I love this art. Like, this is representing the London hard fork, right? Like the London train station. You have ETH in the background. You get a bunch of Easter eggs everywhere, like fork gate and the block number on top of the train here, and like a little fork in the train. I'm sure there's a bunch of others that I'm missing. CryptoPunk here and things like that. But if you actually go to Redline News here, Redlioneye Gazzette here, and you can see like they've NFT'd this as well. But the piece is essentially here, and you can read these for free, and you can buy the NFT of the piece. But essentially, this is their kind of like issue that they've done, issue number 47, and they're talking about like the London hard fork and stuff like that. And I did say this was a publication that covers NFTs, but I mean, you can see the prior issues. They cover proof of beauties like London gifts here. If you go to the issues, I'm just going to quickly go through this. You can see the different issues that they've done. They cover like one big thing like per issue, and they have NFTs attached to them. Hopefully this loads up here. I don't know if my ad block is blocking this. I doubt it. But the art of a lot of these issues is actually really cool. It doesn't seem to be loading there, unfortunately. But yeah, Punk Apocalypse, where they wrote about CryptoPunks, and honestly, it's a really great resource for keeping up with NFTs because there's so much stuff that I miss and so many tweets that I miss, and you can just scroll through here and see all the tweets and see what's been going on and get like a really great lowdown of the NFT ecosystem, which, I mean, if you're interested in that, you can definitely go check this out and subscribe to it. I'll, of course, link it in the YouTube description, but yeah, I thought it was really cool, and I thought that it was really cool that you can buy these kind of like art pieces or buy these editions, and essentially, I guess like what was I going to say? Essentially, kind of like own the magazine at the end of the day, which like a digital magazine, which I thought was really, really cool. All right, so the final thing I wanted to talk about was something that I wrote about in the newsletter today. So I'm not going to talk about it too much on the Refuel, but Justin Drake put out a tweet here today where he said Satoshi's first commit, commit being like commit to the code, which is the Bitcoin repository here, where Satoshi committed something that was basically code for a decentralized P2P marketplace. And then I quote tweeted saying, Ethereum will finish what Satoshi started. Now, I wrote about this in the newsletter, so go read that. But essentially what I meant by this was that so back in kind of like the Bitcoin Talk forums early days, pretty much like most things that you see in Ethereum today were discussed back then, but they couldn't be built on Bitcoin because Bitcoin was inherently limited on the technology side and on the social side as well. It ossified, didn't want to change, didn't want to do things like add smart contracts or whatever. So Ethereum was born, and I truly believe Ethereum is going to finish what Satoshi started and what those early Bitcoin Talk forum kind of posts envisioned. And that's like everything, like the layer 2 ecosystem, all the smart contract stuff, DeFi, all that sorts of stuff. So yeah, anyway, read the newsletter for a deeper dive there, but I'm going to end it here because we've gone over time. So thank you everyone for listening and watching. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Give that video a thumbs up. Subscribe to the newsletter, join the Discord channel, and I'll catch you all tomorrow. Thanks everyone.